Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Umstead, host of the RNG radio show, and I am proud and honored to have one of the greatest lawyers you're ever going to hear about in the moment of your lifetime right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me the one and only intellectual property lawyer, the Mrs. Toni Moore. Toni, how are you doing today?
Oh man, I am so awesome and amazing, having fun in the Philadelphia.
Awesome, that's what's up. Woot! Not sure we're gonna have a
Damn.
Eagle season or any type of season, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun.
We'll see.
Yes. So, Toni, tell us all about law. What is your passion behind the law? There's so many, of course, specializations, categories that folks get into. But if somebody were trying to reach out to you, what do you offer as far as a service?
So for the most part, I help people get their assets together, from starting a business to flipping a business to banking their business, even with regards to succession planning. I really love what I do with regards to business. Business 101 to me is about just changing your socioeconomic class. You don't have to worry about a JOB. You don't have to worry about the EEOC. You don't have to worry about what color you are. All you got to do is package your brilliance so much so that people come to you. So that's what I really like about intellectual property, knowing that we are awesome, amazing, we're brilliant. Even our ancestors were brilliant in slavery. So I'm just always reminding people, look, you're now the master of your brilliance. You got to just package that intellectual property together, capitalize on that intellectual property, secure your intellectual property, and then turn around, figure out how to leverage it, license, and distribute it, so much so that the answer to who is you or your brand or your brilliance or something that you put into the atmosphere. So that's what I really like, helping people to understand and appreciate, because our people don't always know that.
Right. And that lack of knowledge just goes a long way. And I mean, I know we have Google and so many search engines out there. Facebook does have a couple of things, but to actually take the time and actually do the research on the stuff is quite fairly easy, but time really does play a part. So, Toni, if folks wanted to actually get in contact with you or follow you on social media, where can they go to?
I made it so easy. They can go to Toni Moore, ToniMoore ESQ. So it's at Toni Moore ESQ. I even made it easy, ToniMooreESQ.com. And even my Cash App is Toni Moore ESQ.
Awesome. I love that. Now, how long have you been a lawyer for?
Oh, geez. I graduated in 1998. I got sworn in 1999. Okay. And I've been in the legal profession since 1993. I started out, a friend of mine introduced me to going to Morgan, Lewis & Bockius, but now it's just Morgan Lewis on Market Street. So I was one of their document clerks. And then I went over to another firm and served as a junior paralegal after I took a year off between University of Penn and Temple University Law School. So I really like the area of law. And that's when I tell people, I'm like on the other side of 45, and since 1993, I've been in the legal area in some facet.
That is awesome. No, that's really awesome, especially just to have that long-term career. And you hear so many lawyers actually either go back to a different profession once they've gone into it, and even being in the real estate industry, I come across realtors now who used to be in the law profession because they just find it to be so profitable. So for the fact that, being on the other side of 45 so long, definitely is an incredible feat. So honor and applause to you for that. Now, with the business, because we talked about it a little bit earlier, for starting a business, does a business actually need an LLC to even get started though?
No, actually they do not. To get started, all you need to do is have an idea of how you can solve a problem. Now, the IRS and the Internal Revenue Service, they say as soon as you start selling a product or a service, you're in business. So you really, even if you're a hustlepreneur, you're in business. Even if you're illicit, you're technically in business. So whatever you bring into your business enterprise, then that is essentially business. The reason why people have a limited liability company is to protect their interests, their assets, because sometimes, especially in this cybersecurity cybersecurity world, in this COVID world, in this virtual space that we're in, people have blurred lines between what's personal and what's business. And if you blur the lines in business, then guess what? Then the law is not going to protect you. So the law wants you to be clear, defined, saying this is business and this is personal. So when you actually separate, set boundaries around your space, you know, with regards to your emails, with your business, with your virtual space, whether or not you have a PO box or whether or not you actually go to like American Suites or something like that, then you're identifying to the world that I have a personal persona and then I have a business persona. And as long as you keep them separate, and as long as you respect the rules of that separation, then the law will protect you when you have a limited liability company. When people slip, slide, and they are not in business, I tell people, run your business like a business. What you mean? What you mean? Well, when you work for the man, you couldn't take his check. You couldn't cash a check to get your hair done or pay child support or buy your own real estate or buy, you know, like a car just for personal use with the man's money. So pretend that your business is someone else's until you understand that when you run your business like a business, it will protect you. You know, it'll allow you to have that limited liability company. So when people understand that, even a sole proprietor, if they're filing something and they're doing business as, you technically still don't need to have a limited liability company, but you do need to do business as, a fictitious name, doing business as, where you actually file something, it costs less than $100, and you still got to follow the rules though with regards to it. Because if you're running a business and it's not a limited liability company or a corporation, then and it's not under your government name, even if you got an alias, y'all, you know, you got to have it under a government name, or you have to file a fictitious doing business as filing, you know, and then you're in business.
Okay. Now, because I have a lot of people who actually come on the show, and they're selling their products. They have the services, whether it be financial, whether it be a brand new clothing line. At what point, though, should they take that business and actually get that brand trademarked?
Let me just tell you, first of all, whatever you do not name your business whatever name that you want unless you at least go to the United States Patent and Trademark Office. That's uspto.gov. I know this is our podcast, but I always tell people note takers are money makers. So uspto.gov, go to the trademark side and just look up the name, different derivatives of the name, because a trademark is, I call it more like a tattoo on your product or service, because it identifies you as the creator, you know, the creator of the business, the product, the service, the tagline, the smell, you know, NBC has that do. Not going to embarrass myself, but you know, or even a smell. Yeah. So and that's the source identifier where I look you up. I'm like, oh, who's that? Then I can always look up to see. If it's not trademarked, then anybody can use it. And people get confused and they say, well, can't nobody use it in my state? Or I'm not in their state. But we're like, a business is like a seed. It can bloom, blossom, and grow based on how you water it, how you leverage your credit, how you identify yourself, how you keep on showing up for bigger and better things. So even as a seed stage, obviously you want to make it bigger. And in this global economy, virtual world, and we're all like cyber CEOs, you don't want to play small and say, well, I'm going to use it anyway until they catch me. Because the worst thing in the world is to build a brand that cannot stand because you obviously violated someone else's trademark. So always go to the uspto.gov to make sure that your name is not violating someone else's name. uspto.gov. I see you taking notes.
uspto.gov, right?
Yes. And then for when does someone file, I tell people, as soon as you know that name, it will be sick to your stomach that someone else is using it. If you're like, you're emotionally attached to it, that's your name, your product, your baby, that's what you've been building upon. When you get a name that's so good, like for me, Legally Chic is my brand, because I want people to be clear and harmonized, informed, and compliant, you know. And so I created Legally Chic Boutique and academies and boxes. I would have been sick to my stomach. I will be sick to my stomach so much so that now that the brand is expanding, I'm now going to protect that name in several different international classes because there's 45 different ways. So, always know that everybody, even though we've been created by the creator to create, everybody's not creative. So they will control, alt, and delete on you. And while the pace won't be the same, they will still figure out some kind of way to monetize on your creativity. So that's when I tell people that's your intellectual property. Your name is your intellectual, your trade marketable. I tell someone, don't think of it as a trademark. Think of it as a trademarkability, where you're identifying yourself as the person, the one and only, the business about that business. And that's really, I talk about intellectual property, good child, you're going to get me to start preaching, because that's really what it's all about, is understanding the whole naming process. Naming, I tell people, when you name it and it becomes personal to you, it will become personal to you. Like, personal, you got to be personal, heart, whatever, and then your business will make it personable with the PUR, personable. You know what I mean? So you got to understand and appreciate it's a two-way street with regards to it. But when you personify it, when you name it and claim it, when you secure it, when you give it a brand and an essence, and you allow your trademark to literally, I tell people all the time, to be a fingerprint on your product or service. This is your fingerprint. This is what you manifested. You don't want nobody to take that. They can license it, they can distribute it with fees, of course, but do you really want somebody to control, alt, and delete and exploit your creativity and call it their own? That's what you're pretty much allowing people to do if you don't secure that trademark.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. So going through the steps, so let's say, we're taking one of my guests, they come on the show, they have their product. They've been selling it for a little bit. Now they got their LLC. They got their LLC, good to go. Now they want to put that fingerprint on it. Now, once they've done all that, at what point should they retain a lawyer? Or I should say, at what point should they be going on their computer, tablet, laptop, and going to TonyMooreESQ.com?
Yes, yes, yes. So I know a lot of people are like, lawyers are too expensive. And some of my colleagues are really expensive. They're like, I'm a lawyer, you're going to pay me because of my Esquire, or I know my value. But not everybody is so expensive that you have to pretty much say, I'm not going to use a lawyer. I'm going to do ad hoc lawyering. I'm going to find a social media expert to tell me. One thing about lawyers is that we understand that business is a game, and we know that everyone needs to know the rules. They need to know what the rules are so that they can comply with the rules, right? I said comply or die. You either comply or you're going to die, because you're going to get beat to death. Gotcha government is going to go after you. I know this one guy, he was a big, beautiful, beautiful man. I'm married, praise the Lord, but he was so gorgeous. And he was telling me his woes in business, because he was in trucking, and he pretty much bought the route, because that's what drivers do, they buy the route. But before, he was an employee, and then when he bought the route, he still had an employee mindset. So as an employee mindset, he knew that he needed somebody to do some back end work, the boring side of business. So he found a third party, and the third party did whatever they needed to do, but they dropped the ball. So he found himself in trouble with the rules, the law. He found in trouble with regards to have employees, but he was listing as independent contractors. The insurance dropped the ball, everything dropped the ball. And then when he wanted to blame somebody, because you know how we employees back in the day, we can blame people. They was like, I'm a service provider. So he got stuck. He got stuck with the IRS. He got stuck with the insurance, and I told him, I said, the worst thing you can ever do is bring an employee mindset into your entrepreneurship. That's the worst thing. So if you're in this business, and he was making like $1 million because he bought it, he leveraged his influence and things of that nature. But he brought in $1 million, and he had to stop. He had to stop using the name and everything because he did not understand the rules of separation. Always remember, law is obviously about compliance, but it's about separating you from a liability, separating you from the possibility of going to jail or hell for my church people, you know what I mean? And separating you from, what can happen to you when you don't comply. So he didn't know. It's very hard to protect someone, very hard to strategize with someone when they're desperately trying to save their assets. Okay. So the best time to talk to an attorney is when you're like, you know what, this is my business. I'm no longer hustling. I'm not going to try to side hustle. I'm not going to have my kitchenpreneur mentality, here today, gone tomorrow. And you say, you know what, I need someone to show me the rules. Everybody needs someone to just show them the rules, especially with Get Your Gotcha Government. No one really wants to talk about law, but I'm like, law, write this down. Law is a jealous mistress, okay? She's a jealous mistress. You're going to respect her presence, or she's going to make you feel her essence. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So a jealous mistress will always come after you because you didn't move the way you were supposed to move. You didn't respect the rules. You didn't respect her laws, her boundaries. And the laws are written in the book, but who got time for that? But some lawyers, such as myself, we actually really feel ourselves more like mentors that you pay. You know what I mean? But helping people understand and respect who the umpires are, what the fines look like, how you can maybe, you don't have to be 100%, but you got to be 99.9, because 99.5 won't do. You know what I mean? That's from my church, my choir people in Philly, right? So you got to understand and appreciate that there are some things that you can't deflect. And when you have a lawyer in your team, always remember, when you're building an enterprise, every corporation has a legal office. They either have in-house counsel, they have outside counsel, maybe they even have of counsel. Some of the bigger corporations, they actually have a chief legal officer, because there's so many different rules. Every time you level up, you need to lawyer up, okay? So when you level up with regards to tablepreneur, then you need to lawyer up. Can I do this? Can I do that? If you're going to then start maybe a joint venture offer with a friend, you need to lawyer up, because here's the thing. While everything is good, nobody's thinking about the bad. But for 10 years, I was a divorce attorney.
Can't imagine how many.
I'm just saying, it can be really messy with regards to equitable distribution, okay? And there's no love, and it's all about money, and you're not thinking about kids, you're not thinking about history. All you're thinking about is getting all of your assets, especially if you're a visionary. If you're the one who got the visionary, somebody promised sweat equity, and you realize that they was just bankrupt with regards to just talking ish all throughout the business, you're going to want to beat someone down. And let me just tell you, a contract, a negotiation is so much cheaper than a litigation. I litigate, but let me just tell you, litigation fees, because you're calling the lawyer, and the lawyer has to talk to the judge and opposing counsel and try to settle. Litigation is so much more expensive. So it's always best to even know, what do I need to do? And then have milestones. Each time you level up, you need to lawyer up.
Okay. Now, as far as with the milestones and such, if you can, like, does it just depend upon the business, or does it depend upon like where they're at? Like if somebody's been in business for 3 years and now they want to open up a new store, I guess at that point they would need to lawyer up again, correct?
Yes, because one, commercial contracts are not like residential contracts. When you get a commercial contract, because people are learning this, like when people are in COVID-19, when they couldn't pay their residential, they couldn't get thrown out of the street. But commercial, they be like, you got to figure it out, because we will sue you because of the fact that this is business and you're using our assets, right? So when I say, like, with regards to going from mindset, to kitchenpreneur, to then you now are leveling up into your LLC. Maybe you're going to level up again and say, you know what? I have a bunch of friends. Let's have a real estate development company. Oh, we're going to do this, a real estate development company. Now I'm working with other people. When two or more are gathered together, that's when a lawyer should be, because in the midst of a non-conversation.
I was going with the word. I'm like, yes, when two or more agree. When two or more agree, get a lawyer. Got it.
Yes, because the conversation you're not thinking about is if we break up, who's interested? You know what I mean? If we break up, because under the rules, when a partnership breaks up, then generally the partnership, the business breaks up as well. And then who gets interest, who gets the equity, who gets the assets? And those are conversations that most people are not thinking. They're just thinking, like most people when they get married, oh, we're going to have fun. We're going to build an enterprise. We're going to have, make money and millions, and we're going to have trademarks and licensing deals. They're not thinking, oh, but if somebody gets sick, oh, if someone files for bankruptcy, oh, if someone goes to jail, or somebody goes, or someone dies, or someone gets married. Those are the conversations that I call them business nuptials that most people are like, they ain't got time for. But I'm telling you right now, I've done enough litigation that if it's not written, I wrote literally before our conversation, I literally wrote one of my clients and said, look, words, if it's not written, if it is written, it can be used as a weapon. So if someone doesn't do anything, we can say, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, give me my money. You know what I mean? But if it's not written, it's a general understanding, but it's not written down, that can be a problem for you, So really, when I think about milestones, I'm like, okay, milestones, you started a business. Okay, that's one. Milestones, taxes, how you going to pay Uncle Sam? Because when people don't pay Uncle Sam, he will send you to jail or hell. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? What's the next one? Okay, I got the business, I got the taxes. Oh, now I'm going to bring in someone. Am I bringing a partner? Am I bringing an independent contractor? Am I bringing an employee? Am I bringing an intern? If you don't know the rules of the game, then you need to get gamed on the rules, or you will get got. You know what I mean? And then if you say, okay, now I'm going to expand it. Now I want to do licensing. I want other people to use my trademark. I want to certify other companies. I want to get into the training. Let me just tell you something. When you get into corporate training, that's really what I'm trying to get into, for real. But if you get into corporate training, that's like thousands of dollars for a 30-minute or an hour, even if it's 5 hours. Can you imagine getting paid $50,000 for maybe 1 month of work?
Right.
And it's not 80 hours a week, 1 month of work. You handling business because they're paying for your brilliance, but there's still going to be a conversation with regards to who owns the intellectual property, who's going to own the licensing. You don't want to be like Nick, was it Nick Cannon, who learned that the hard way, that Wild 'N Out, even though he's a superstar, he didn't own the intellectual rights to it. I'm just saying.
I'll have to change that completely. So yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm taking it all in. As you can see, my legal background shall eventually come into fruition when it does get through. Now, Toni, also what I want to ask you, and I ask everybody who's on the show, business owners and brand new entrepreneurs, what advice would you give to the next business owner, or even somebody who's struggling right now to get their business off the ground?
My biggest thing is that, first of all, you took a huge step of being a business owner, right? So you had something in your brain that said, I can help them do X. What was it? Something in your brain. So I want you as a business owner to create a solution for that one problem. Just solve that one problem. Package that solution into an intellectual property that now it can be used as a product. Like I have the legal box, you know what I mean? That's 22 years of being a lawyer. I created a legal box. Now that legal box, some people want the divorce legal box. Some people want the nonprofit legal box. Some people want the intellectual property legal box. What is the one thing that you can spit out just like this? Write it down. Write 7 things. Think of a problem and think of 7 things, 7 ways that you can solve that problem. If it's bankruptcy, write down, oh, you don't need to go to bankruptcy. You need to do this. If it's business credit, this is what you need to get the business credit. If it's helping kids out. I have this one client, she going crazy with regards to her babies, right? What is the 7 things that you would need to tell her so she don't go crazy? You know what I mean? With regards to like building a business, with regards to building a platform, with regards to starting a podcast, what are the 7 things that you need to do? Guess what? Those 7 things, that's now your solution. Now you create an awesome and amazing name. You know what I mean? Because that thing is your intellectual property. I tell people all the time, you profit from your intellectual property. You box your brilliance and you make a beeline to the bank, period. Box your brilliance, the brilliance of the 7 things, that one problem that you're focusing on for the next 30, 60, 90 days.
Yes.
You wrote down the 7 things. Now that is your brilliance, and now create the solution. Show up for the solution. Be the solution. Let people know, I know this is your problem, but I got this problem. I got this. Like, I have a legal box. What do you have that you can box it in into your brilliant box and then turn around and make a beeline to the bank, because now you are being that solution to it. You know, a lot of us are making it so hard because we were taught, we are addicted to our labor. It ain't your fault. If you're black or brown, like such as myself, somewhere indoctrinated into our spirituality, into our DNA, is a mindset of the slave mentality, because that's what they did to us. You no longer have to.
You gotta get a good job. You want to get ahead in life.
I'm saying. So what, and that's what we heard. Go to school, get a good job, and JOB was just over broke. And before we knew it, we signed up for the 40-40-40 club. 40 hours a week for 40 years, only to live off of 40% of our income. And then we end up at Medicaid or reverse mortgages, and we die and we pass on debt. But I need you to understand that when you're in business, to be a bankable billionaires or a billionaire, because I tell people, you got to be brilliant in your mind before you get brilliant in your bank. So do that thing. I want you to just focus on that one problem, create a 7-step solution, box that in, be the solution, offer the solution, speak the solution, become obsessed with the solution, and then package it. Make a price for it. You're already in business. You don't have to die broke. God has made you brilliant. So all you got to do is figure out what that one thing is that you want to get known for. And if you're creative like me, you're going to have to turn down your creative brain just for a little bit and just fixate on that one thing. Get known for that one thing. I have clients who are making $1 million a month based on their one thing.
That's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Ooh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Awesome. Well, Toni, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. One last question. Is there anything else that folks should know about you as a lawyer, or even your practice, that wasn't discussed on the show today?
Well, it covered a lot. I'm very passionate about this because I am from piss poor broke
and I thank you
right now.
Thank you so
You know
much.
what I mean? So, and I always wanted to know what it was to get on that other side of being poor, of being living in Section 8, of being living in poverty, of living in foster care, of always having my hands outstretched and eating from the food banks, and with regards to shelters for women. And that was as a child. Well, once I realized that I can change my socioeconomic class by just pretty much banking this brilliant mind of mine and standing up and not being the pain and not thinking about being my ancestors' dream. I want it to be my best dream. I want it to be my dream. So I want you to visualize your life above and beyond. I want you to visualize your life as being the solution to a single most problem that's the answer to who is always you. And then I want you to allow yourself to be the best person that you can be. Because here's the thing, you're always going to have a bad situation. There's always going to be sickness and disease and brutality and protest. But my question is, when it comes to your legacy, when it comes to what your children ask you, your grandchildren ask you, what your great-great-grandchildren ask you, what are you going to say? How did you change your socioeconomic class? How did you make change possible? I'm a Bible girl, so the Bible says money answers all things. And here's the thing, if he's giving you the power to create wealth, then you got to figure out some kind of way to pull that wealth out of you. We may not have become from wealth, but wealth will come from you. So I'm Toni Moore. I'm so dedicated. I'm so obsessed with just being the mouthpiece, the vocal piece to let people understand that if you're going to let your light shine, you're going to take that leap of faith, you better make sure that you are running and falling on a pile of money.
All right. Man, I got the word advice, legal advice. I almost forgot for a second. I'm like, wait, this is for the people. This is for the people, not for me. Not for me. I forgot. So, oh my gosh. Well, Toni, I want to thank you again so much for being on the show. Folks, you're the best. You got everything wrapped up in one. You got the word. You got to know how to start a business. And on top of that, you got some ears. So you heard on the website to go to. It's www.tonimoreesq.com. And Toni, what was that other website again as far as double checking the trademark for the folks?
Yes. uspto.gov. US, United States Patent Trademark Office, uspto.gov.
Awesome. Well, Toni, thank you again so much for coming on the RNG radio show. I greatly appreciate having you here.
You're very welcome. Hope to see you soon.
Definitely. And for the folks at home, be sure to check out the RNG radio show Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. on Facebook Live, or you can check out great interviews such as these along with the replays on YouTube. Thanks again, Toni.
Flesled on the beat.